Hi, good evening. I'd like to welcome you to Poem Praise 2. I do thank you for tuning in, and peace and blessings be upon you and your family this evening. Now, we are going to get right back into the 5 steps to real estate success. Currently, right now, we're on step number 5, nail the sale. Now, this is take number 5, entitled The Day of Closing. So without further ado, it goes like this. Before the closing, buyers and their agents conduct one last inspection, referred to as the walk-through. It is intended to assure that the house is as agreed on and all conditions have been met. If the sellers want to be present, speak with their agent and try to discourage them. Tension could be high, and you don't want any last-minute misunderstandings or sparks flying. If you represent the buyers, arrange to meet them just before the walkthrough. Make sure they've had coffee or juice and are not grumpy from low blood sugar. Be upbeat and don't overdo it. This is a serious commitment for the buyers, and they're likely to be in a serious mood. If the buyers or sellers are not morning people, avoid chatter. Answer their questions, but follow their cue about how much to talk. Don't feel the need to fill pauses or silences in the conversation. Many people prefer quiet first thing in the morning. If a problem arises, concentrate on fixing it rather than laying blame or panicking at the potential consequences. At this point, things are pretty far along. A major problem might make for a long, frustrating closing. It might mean all parties and their agents have to make some last-minute concessions to get things done. But it's unlikely to kill the sale at this point if you address it promptly, rather than trying to lay blame. At the table, you and your clients have made it to the final step. If anything goes wrong at this point, it is usually a personality issue. Help everyone to focus on getting the deal done, rather than how they feel about one another, to keep the closing running smoothly. Here's some checks. Check. Make sure all the paperwork is there and no one has forgotten anything. If possible, stop by the location of the closing a few hours early to make sure all the details are in place. Check. Bring extra pens and notepads for everyone. Don't assume everyone will come to closing with writing supplies. Buyers and sellers will be able to jot down any last-minute details if necessary. And having a scratch pad to doodle on may help clients ease nervous tension while talking or waiting for someone else to finish reading a document during closing. Check. Make sure there's coffee or whatever each party likes to drink, and something light to nibble on. It will ease tension, give people something to do other than fidget, and remind them that you have their interests in mind. Keep everything moving along. Be friendly. But if someone gets sidetracked or starts telling unrelated stories, gently bring them back on topic. The faster the closing goes, the less chance there is that discord will surface. Check. If the buyer or seller has legitimate questions, make sure they're answered. Don't try to railroad people through the sale. Make them feel stupid for not having thought of the question earlier. A person who feels he or she is being coerced may get angry or suspicious enough to call the whole process to a halt. Check. If the buyer and seller have clashed earlier, make sure that you take steps to minimize the friction. Make sure your client is not left alone. If possible, you want to be with him or her to lend encouragement and to keep the focus away from his or her dislike of the other party. Buyers and sellers who don't get along should be seated at inconvenient angles to each other, such as on the same side of the table, with bankers and lawyers in between, so they can't glare at each other across the table until the tension simmers into an open fight. The documents. For the buyer, the closing is actually two closings. They not only close on the purchase of real estate, but also on a mortgage loan. They're trying to buy it. Each transaction involves a stack of paperwork, especially for first-time or otherwise jittery buyers. It is a good idea to explain the documents ahead of time, so nerves are calm and questions are answered ahead of time. At the table, help your clients check all figures to make sure there are no typos or other errors. Mortgage documents include: check. Truth in Lending Statement or Regulation Z discloses the interest rate, annual percentage rate, amount financed, and total cost of the loan over its life. Itemization of amount financed summarizes finance costs, including points. Monthly payment letter breaks down the monthly payments into principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and any other monthly escrows. Note: acknowledges the loan, guarantees it will be paid back. Mortgage puts a lien on the house as security for the loan, which means the bank can foreclose if you default on the note. Real estate documents include: HUD, Form 1 or Disclosure Settlement Statement, contains the actual settlement cost and amounts. Warranty deed includes the names of the buyers and the seller and a description of the property. It may also guarantee that the seller has the right to sell the property. Upon signing by both parties, it transfers the title of property. Appropriation agreements describes how buyer and seller are splitting the cost of the house for the month in which it is being bought. Costs may include property taxes, heating oil, and homeowners association dues. Tax and utility receipts determine who will pay for what and when. Acknowledgement of reports assures that the buyer has seen all of the reports regarding the property, including surveys and inspections. Search or abstract of title List all recorded documents about the property. After the closing, it's time to get back to work. Your client should be added to your database so you can contact him or her in the future. Begin by sending them a short note the day after the closing. Thank them for their business and wish them happiness in their new home. Having a small flower arrangement delivered is also a good idea. Make sure your buyer or seller retains a positive impression of your services. You want them to remember you the next time they need to buy, sell, or refer a realtor. To review, have a discussion with your sellers before the first offer is presented. Be certain they understand the process and how you will represent them. And also make sure you understand them and what they are willing to consider. As soon as buyers show serious interest in a property, suggest, without pressure, writing an offer. Make them aware of all of the information you have and can share, such as a time on the market, price, too high or too low, and eagerness of sellers. Your offer should be defendable rather than a number seemingly pulled from thin air. Help your buyers decide the contingencies that make sense for them and won't alienate the sellers. Check. When presenting an offer to your sellers, do it in person. Help them understand the context of the offer, including the ability of the buyers to complete the sale. Allow them to vent anger or frustration if the offer is low or complicated. But then come across as a strong negotiator who can fire back or counteroffer and make the deal work for them. If you are presenting to the seller agent, give him or her tools they need to sell your offer to their clients. Explain your reasoning in determining the offer and as much background about the buyers as possible. Check. If it is important to form a positive relationship with your buyer or seller, when they like and trust you, they will have confidence in your skills as you guide them through the negotiation process. Keep them informed throughout the process. Formulate a plan with your buyers or sellers ahead of time as to how you will deal with issues such as low offers, counter offers, and time on the market without offers. Do your homework so that you can negotiate with facts and figures. Good negotiators let the other side feel they are winning too. Don't let the other realtor and her clients walk away feeling like we've been taken advantage of. To get to the closing table, you need to follow up on every detail. Make sure the inspection is scheduled and attend it. Get updates on the loan status and remind your clients of what they need to be doing next. Every few days, you should be checking to see that the timely process is being made. Try to keep buyers and sellers apart on the day of the closing. Sellers don't need to be present for the walkthrough, for example. Since all of the details of the sale are already worked out, the number one problem at this stage is personality issue. Distance keeps those issues from arising. And the last check. After the closing, add your buyers or sellers to your database. Send a thank you note or gift and keep in touch. Someday, they will be buyers or sellers again. And you want them to use your services again. that does complete closing the sale. So stay tuned. We'll be going through some power words and phrases, and definitely the glossary or definitions regarding real estate. So until then, I want you to be well, take care, and it be it thy will. I will speak with you soon, here on Palm Praise 2. So until next time, later, y'all.